Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please. And away we go.
Gentlemen, we are counting down the days until the NFL draft, the 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party, presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Easy for me to say. We've got a batch of latest Vikings news, a hot Vikings take, and then it sounds like our guy Randy in Cottage Grove, a prominent mocker going back years. He has correctly nailed several Vikings draft picks in his pre-draft mock exercises with us. He's gonna give us his full Vikings mock today. So we'll do that toward the end of the show.
I've been very worried about him.
Yeah, the end of the season was like a tough one for that guy.
Ooh, that's not good.
I think he probably just goes dark for a while. But he apparently is going to predict who the Vikings are going to draft. He's been, quote unquote, watching film. I don't know what that means. So we'll get to all those things. But a shout out to Two Men in a Truck. It's a big day for Declan. It's closing day for Declan, which means soon after he signs 4,000 pieces of paper, he's going to have to find a moving truck.
And thank God, 2 Men in a Truck already helped me out with this. Already got this locked in. They just sent me over the spreadsheet. They said, what do you need moved here? And luckily, we can't move everything out of this house, but they can handle all the big stuff. No, we don't have to worry about getting other truck or figuring out how we're going to get this in cars and whatnot. 2minutetruck.com will take care of it for us instead. No hidden fees or service charges. What they quote is what you pay. They want to simplify that stressful moving process and make it as affordable as possible. So don't wait. Go to 2minutetruck.com. Tell them Purple Daily. Tell you Deck sent you. Go to 2minutetruck.com to learn more.
Yeah, and 2 Men in a Truck, in addition to Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, Roku, Element Hotel, Park Dental, Continental Diamond, Bricksworth, the great partners that help us put on the 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party, which you can find tickets. It's a week from Thursday night at the Fillmore in Minneapolis. scorenorth.com/draft. scorenorth.com/draft. Some VIP tickets are available, a very limited amount, I believe. I think there's still some available. And then there's some general admission. So come join hundreds of fellow Purple Daily listeners and viewers and Vikings fans as we have a fun night talking about your favorite football team. For a 15% room rate discount at Element Hotel, it's scorenorth.com/element. And the Bricksworth pre-party across the street starts at 3:30 on Thursday, April 24th. Are you guys ready for the latest Vikings news?
Yeah, some interesting stuff going on.
So there's two main things here that we're going to get into. Let's start with the JJ McCarthy stuff. So Albert Breer sat down with Kevin O'Connell last week, and they had a big conversation about JJ McCarthy's first year, the injury, and then the decision to give him this runway to earn the job in spring practice. So I'm going to go through some of the highlights from this lengthy article, and you guys react to some of this stuff. So it's through the words and the mind of Kevin O'Connell and through the pen of Albert Breer, or the keyboard, or however he puts it.
So it's about McCarthy, but there's nothing from McCarthy.
Correct, yeah. Because the Vikings are very stingy about allowing JJ McCarthy to do interviews.
Yes, they are.
But we love ourselves some JJ McCarthy on the show. So McCarthy had done enough through the Raiders preseason game to at least provoke discussion in the Vikings building about him beating out Sam Darnold. So that's been speculated on, but there was a couple moments leading up to that game and then the game itself. And I'm going to read you this right from the article that had the light bulb go on for Kevin O'Connell and the decision makers as they were trying to compare and contrast Darnold and McCarthy. The biggest thing was the homework that they gave JJ McCarthy at the end of the spring OTAs and minicamp. So like early June, mid-June, hey, you're going to go away for like 6 weeks. Here are the things we need you to work on as a rookie,
right,
so that you can potentially take a step forward in training camp.
And I will say this, in the OTAs and minicamp, he did not look great. He looked like he was new.
Yeah.
And I remember at the end of, I think it was at the end of the OTAs, because they went OTAs, minicamp, and then there's a last week of OTAs. And I think he talked at the end of that. And as I recall, he said, somebody said, hey, going to be your first year, going to get some time away, little vacation time. And he was very specific and said, no, I did that. I will be working on my footballing.
Yeah.
And like he was very, to use a football term, he was very intentional about what his plan was, which then coincides with what you're going to get to next.
So I would say footwork, homework was the theme of like the summer last year for McCarthy. This is from the article. The first big jump came when McCarthy returned for training camp at the end of July, with the homework the coaching staff gave him in mid-June done. Much of it was mundane footwork tweaking relating to the NFL dropback game, which is where the ex-Michigan star's steepest learning curve was coming from the Big Ten. So KOC said that McCarthy already had mastered mostly the mechanics of like the footwork and the mechanics of the play action game because Michigan was running a ton of play action. So KOC kind of described, the handoff fake and then the footwork to get to the top of your drop and then squaring your shoulders. And like he had the play action stuff he had mastered. Quote from KOC, it was more so the drop back pass game, how he could read with his feet and progress fundamentally with the speed of the play, and trying to learn how to tie all those things together and start playing fast, but also playing calm and decisively. Mm-hmm. It showed up in a practice right away at the end of July, and I'm sure Judd's camp notes documented this if we go back to
He
those
had
episodes.
some nice, and he made some nice throws. He did. Second team, but nice throws.
Even as the coaches ramped up the degree of difficulty, okay, do it in the 7-on-7s, or do it in the shadow practices, then the 7-on-7s, then the 11-on-11s, and they were impressed that the footwork homework they gave him translated right away at the start of practice in July. And then 3 noteworthy throws from that Raiders preseason game, 3 very different types of throws. There was a play action with a linebacker coming in, unblocked. He sticks his foot in the ground, takes the hit, delivers a strike outside the hash. Mm-hmm. There was a layered throw, as KOC described it, the high to low or the low to high reads that you have to make.
Football. Absolutely.
Those layering throws over the top of defenders but underneath others.
Yep.
He made one of those. And then there was that crossing pattern. It was like he had to get to his second or third read and he hit a receiver. I think it was Naylor coming across the field. And so all of that together, him retaining the footwork homework, him coming out of the gate right away in July, and then him performing those 3 big plays, small sample size against the Raiders, they came out of all of that thinking,
yeah, well,
he might actually be the starter, and then he comes in on Monday after the preseason game with the meniscus and wow.
And it's not mentioned, but I think the most important thing too was that was when, and KO, I believe, has told people this either on background, I forget if it's been on the record, but he's definitely talked about the next week is when they went to Cleveland to play, but they did 2 joint practices. And the plan fully at that point was to get McCarthy some significant first team work. So he was going to, if not pass Sam, which I don't think he would, but he was going to like pull even with Sam. And they were basically going to, from that point on, their desire was a quarterback off. So they were going to give them both a chance. But I think the most important thing too, reflecting on this, is because I think we get too hung up, and it was impressive, on the Raiders game individually, because it's like, well, one game, but it wasn't.
It was the culmination of like
exactly
May spring practice all the way through. Yeah.
And the footwork stuff I thought was so intriguing because like that's the thing about being a quarterback that like we don't appreciate. We think about arm strength and all the things that we can obviously watch, but you're not watching the footwork and how it ties into the drops, which ties into the arm, which ties into the reads. Like it all goes hand in hand. And so, yes, this was a culmination. And I would also say, despite the fact it was a negative, another important thing was when his first pass in the preseason game was picked off, because he could have gone in the toilet from there, right? Like, oh my God, my first pass, I get picked off.
Yeah.
Like you want to see, how do you respond to adversity, which is actually far more important, in my opinion, than success. Because success is like, oh, this is great, I can build off this. But when you get punched in the mouth from the get-go, and then you come back and throw these layered throws, I think it was Naylor caught one, and I want to say Lucky Jackson caught 2. But they were just great throws. And so Like, that's why I think the Vikings said, we've got a competition here. And then, to your point, he comes in and says, my knee hurts. And I think they thought, okay, this ain't good. Because I remember KO at the press conference before the night practice on Monday was down in the dauber, like you could tell. And that was, but they did have, at that point in time, they did have a very, very interesting potential conundrum, because I don't think Darnold had the job won at that point until McCarthy came in with the bad knee.
But is it also worth noting, and jog our memory here, Judd's camp notes? You were documenting all of these practices. The McCarthy work that was done and the playmaking that he did throughout practice and the Raiders preseason game, 90% of that was with the second team offense and supporting cast and weapons, right? Like
or more.
He barely worked with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. I mean, Hawkinson was coming back from the injury, and he barely worked with Christian Darrisaw protecting his blind side. Like, it was the Lucky Jacksons, the Jalen Nailors, and the second, third teamers mostly, right?
Oh yeah. I would say before the Raiders game. So the training camp practices before preseason game 1, I would say first team, like real first team work. He maybe was lucky if he had gotten 10 snaps. It felt like.
Yeah.
So that's why they were going to go into Cleveland, and they were going to have him practice against the Browns defense. And I know that the Browns were a disaster, but at that time the Browns were pretty highly thought of, and as I recall, very, very highly thought of defensively. And he was going to start the preseason game there.
Yeah. So here's some more nuggets here from this Albert Breer article talking to KOC. According to Kevin O'Connell, on his own, and he had, it's funny how KOC has to specify anyone that's in the building on a day-to-day basis right now.
I thought this.
The teams can't mandate that you come in, even for like the voluntary, workouts. There's periods where it's like, okay, there's unofficial time where your card key works and you could just go in there and use the weight room or whatever. Then there's like official time that's voluntary and the teams can't make you. Side note, Mike Vrabel, we talked about this on O-line committee last week. Mike Vrabel wrote a letter to his new team, his Patriots players, saying, this is Mike Vrabel, and I am voluntarily sending you this letter reminding you that voluntary workouts are coming up. And if you're welcome to, show up voluntarily, just like I am welcome to. I don't remember what it all was. But
and if
like
you don't, you voluntarily might be cut.
Yeah. So, okay, KOC said, on his own, JJ McCarthy has been in the building almost every day since the season ended. His weight is close to where it was on the day Minnesota worked him out privately in Ann Arbor last spring, a year ago. He's moving well. He's been throwing a few days a week. And then the article gets into the process by which the Vikings sniffed around like Rodgers and the negotiations kind of with like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. And Breer says, where the Vikings are at quarterback is as fascinating a story as any in the NFL right now. It's McCarthy's show, and he's going to get runway to affirm that over the next 2 months. But he explains, like, coming off a 14-win season, the Vikings had to make sure that, okay, are we really turning this over to a first-year starter that's coming off an injury? And so when the 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers reached out to the Vikings, the idea of making a 1-year run at a Lombardi trophy and tying it to being a willing mentor for McCarthy, the team felt it had to listen. So he's making it sound like he's confirming what KOC confirmed, which is it was, again, Rodgers that reached out to the Vikings.
Yeah, and said this.
But what KOC didn't get into detail about was maybe written here by Breer, which is that Rodgers apparently agreed to be a willing mentor. Hey, I'll come in here and I'll show him the ropes for a year or whatever, and then we can kind of go from there. The proposition, of course, was different than the potential Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold options because the Vikings would have been jamming the pause button on the idea of playing McCarthy if Rodgers signed. Rodgers would have just been the starter rather than generating competition. Like Daniel Jones might have been some pseudo competition,
which is why he left.
Yeah, and Rodgers would have just come in to be the starter. In the end, faced with all of that, the Vikings found themselves emboldened to give McCarthy the runway to seize the job, the staff the opportunity to build the offense for him, and see how all of it looks at the end of spring.
Yep.
And KOC confirms, this is a direct quote from KOC, "We won't know until we get out on the grass with him, McCarthy, but my expectation is he's going to have a great spring and we're going to feel really good about him going into training camp." So the Vikings passed on Rodgers, pushing their chips in on the 22-year-old. But through Breer and his interpretation and directly from Kevin O'Connell, just like we had speculated for weeks on this show, this is very much a let's get into spring practice, which is mostly May and June.
Yep.
Then we can evaluate where we're at with everything. Then we'll see how we feel going into training camp. It is by no means are they saying, nor should they, by the way, he is the week one starter, 100%, no doubt. They're taking this like kind of phase by phase.
Right. And the one thing that remains extremely intriguing is this. Aaron Rodgers still is not signed. So he literally is just going to wait this out. He is going to hope. He's going to hope that McCarthy struggles, doesn't look great. Yeah. Hell, he's Aaron. He might hope he gets hurt again. Who knows? But that's the one thing that sort of just hovers over this entire conversation, right? Like the Rodgers thing, he's not signing with Pittsburgh. Now people in Pittsburgh, rightfully so, are pissed. They're like, okay, if you want to play here, great. If you don't, that's great too. Just buzz off. But I think that's the one thing that is extremely intriguing. And the longer that the backup QB thing, which they're going to sign, they're going to get someone. But the longer that lingers, the more intriguing that this becomes. I will say this. If they bring in a third quarterback for the off-season program, and it looks like Brett Rippon is the real backup, fasten your seatbelts. At that point in time, and folks, look, I don't like this anymore. I'm talking directly to you out there, PD family. I don't like this any more than you do, okay? Like, I hope McCarthy succeeds. It'd be awesome. He's the starter. Hell, it's 10 years of quarterback bliss. That's my goal. So I'm not saying this as I want this to happen. I'm just telling you, buckle up here, because I don't think there's any way on God's green earth that Aaron is going to sign with the team until he knows exactly what Kevin thinks of McCarthy's play. That is just my feeling in having covered this crap before.
And Kevin, and again, to clarify the timeline, usually it's the mandatory mini camp that is, there's like sometimes they might put an OTA. They're all kind of similar, but like it's usually the first or second week in June is the end of the spring practice session, right?
Hold on, I've got it right here.
Have they sent the official?
Yeah, I've got it on the calendar.
Oh, this is great.
I've got the calendar right here.
This is an early glimpse at Judd's Camp Notes schedule here.
Judd's Camp Notes schedule. So let's see here. We start OTAs on May 27th. The mandatory mini camp is the 10th through the 12th, and then they come back the next week and wrap things up with OTAs scheduled for the 16th through the 18th of June.
Okay, so it goes through like mid-June, so basically June 18th, maybe a couple days to digest afterwards, around June 20th.
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings are going to have a really strong opinion about how do we feel about this. Are we going to do this with JJ? Are we going to push forward? And if you're Rodgers, why would you sign anywhere before the draft? Like, you might as well let the draft play out and just see, okay, where does Jackson Dart go? Oh, the Steelers drafted Shedeur Sanders. Okay, whatever. I don't want to deal with that. And just let the chips fall and see what happens. I mean, look, by waiting, the Saints situation became a thing, which is super weird that injury popped up.
I got a take on that in our
NFL takes.
Yes, I got a take on that.
So, anyways, on the QB2 front, so let's take the Rodgers stuff off the table here.
Okay.
Another one off the board here, boys. Declan's guy Drew Lock is reportedly heading back to Seattle for a second stint to compete for the QB2 job behind Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. So you can cross another somewhat credible backup quarterback option off the books. And I want to give to you guys a list. I know Judd's Substack was digging into some of this too, so feel free to counter or add to this. But I think there are currently 5 viable QB2 options remaining for the Vikings.
Okay.
And maybe there's a couple more I'm not thinking of via trade here.
Sure.
Ryan Tannehill, who we've talked about, 37 years old, hasn't played in 2 years, but apparently willing to come in as a backup. I think last year he didn't sign because he thought he was a starter still, and the league didn't view him that way, so he just sat out. Mm-hmm. But he's still out there. There's been some steam. Now, Carson Wentz, there's like 2 weird articles out there that are hinting that he may be retiring from the league at age 32, but at no point has a credible like national NFL insider gone with this. So we'll see what happens with Carson Wentz, but he is still available. This would be his 6th team in 6 years. He has spent the last 2 years under the tutelage as a backup of Sean McVay and Andy Reid.
Yeah, and the McVay one might intrigue O'Connell. I could see that.
If McVay gives him
if he gives
a
him
nod
a
of
thumbs
approval,
up.
right?
Correct.
Yeah. So those are 2 guys you could sign right now.
Yep.
The trade for Kirk Cousins remains an option. It doesn't feel like they're going to release him because if they were going to release him, they probably would have done it before the $10 million roster bonus hit the week of the new league year.
Thought on that as well. Are they, well, first of all, I agree. It feels like they're not going to do it. The second thing is if you do it now, you run the risk that the Saints sign him in your division and beat your ass. That to me becomes less palpable, or less intriguing if I'm the Falcons. So I wonder if they weren't going to release him. He wants to be released. But now, I mean, if I'm the Falcons, do I want the Saints to sign him and then he comes back and has a bounce back year? That might be super embarrassing, and the Falcons are already super embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, this is an embarrassing 12 months for them. The whole thing is weird. I think the only way I would do a trade if I'm the Vikings that involve Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't give up. If I could just sign Ryan Tannehill for $5 million and not give up a draft pick, I would 100% rather do that. But we've talked about this before. There is some precedent for, if you go back 6 years, 7 years, the Texans signed Brock Osweiler and then immediately regretted the contract like a year later. And they decided, we got to get off this. We don't want to pay this freight anymore. And the Browns came in with cap space. The Vikings currently have a bunch of cap space that they've saved and said, okay, so we will absorb a big chunk of that contract. You give us Brock Osweiler and attach a 2nd-round pick to him. If the Falcons, but again, the Falcons could have just released Kirk Cousins and not had to tie a draft pick to him. They would, and they're going to eat money either way. But if you're the Vikings, you go to the Falcons and say, if Kirk's willing to be a backup, because he's got a full no trade, so he'd have to waive it anyways. If he's good on the backup thing,
right,
you give us a 4th-round draft pick attached to him, and we will eat some of that contract for 2025, and he backs up JJ McCarthy.
Or what if, again, Kirk would fall more into the Rodgers bin. What if you're waiting to see JJ? You see him all spring, not what you think. Like, to me, because I don't know, the more I think about this, I can't decide. Would you go get Kirk around now to be a backup? Or is there an actual bin of JJ's not where we expected bin, and we think that we need a starter?
Yeah, you're not going to know.
Right. But I'm saying if the Falcons hold on to Kirk, and let's say we get to June 18th, and the Vikings are like, oh, okay, we got a problem here, and they also say Rodgers comes with a lot of baggage. He's 41. Kirk is 37, 38. I'm just saying, I wonder if Kirk is a kick the can down the road conversation in case of emergency.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a thing that lingers. I mean, the Browns, there was some interest, but the Browns have kind of since, like, they grabbed Flacco, they traded for Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
Okay, 2 possible other trade options that have kind of floated out there. So Sam Howell was the backup to Sam Darnold, but then they're bringing in Drew Lock, and that bumps Sam Howell even further down. 24 years old, 1 year left on his rookie deal in Seattle, former 5th-round pick and a full-year starter for Washington a couple years ago. The historically high sack rate really scares me. He just can't pull the trigger, and the interceptions.
Yes.
But if you're looking for youngish guy who was fairly highly touted coming out of college, quarterback rehab school, You could put him on the list. And then Aiden O'Connell with Geno Smith, now the starter in Las Vegas. Now they do need a backup to Geno Smith, but he's 27 years old with, I think, 2 years left on his rookie scale deal with 16, 17 starts under his belt. So you could make a move for one of those guys. Probably wouldn't cost you much, but you would be giving up a draft pick.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is Howell strikes me just from a statistical standpoint as a type of guy that O'Connell wouldn't touch. Like the one thing to keep in mind is O'Connell is not a come one, come all, you play QB, I'll fix you guy. He's picky about it, right? And when you look at what you just said, Phil, the sack rate on Howell and the picks, I don't think O'Connell would look at that and say, I can fix that. I think he'd say this guy is a liability. That's a good word for it with the football. So I would be very surprised if he took a guy like that, because I think that guy would fall into the bin of what O'Connell considers unfixable quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So who would be your number one option right now? Whether that's someone like a trade for a Howell or Ryan Tannehill, like who is the best option? Because it's slim pickings now.
Can I give you a hot take to answer that question?
Absolutely.
That was actually a beautiful segue into our
Look at Declan
hottest
through.
Vikings take, which will be presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, Dex.
Absolutely. I had that final walkthrough at that house that I'm closing on this afternoon. I had to make sure everything is ship shape. Took a look at that furnace again and remembered that my friends at Standard Heating and Air were able to come look at that furnace and give me that peace of mind before signing on the dotted line for that big purchase of a home. So they can do that for you. They can make sure that air conditioning is also working appropriately as the ground thaws here in the Twin Cities. Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, a proud sponsor of the Purple Daily Draft Party, making my life easier. They can make your life easier. Do not DIY your HVAC or your AC or any of your furnace needs. Instead, go call Standard Heating and Air. Go to standardheatingandair.com to learn more.
Also, a Minnesota Rusco powering Purple Daily here today. They've been Minnesota's hometown remodeler since 1955. 70 years of experience in turning your remodels into realities. And throughout the month of April, this is their biggest sale of the year that they're offering. The Free Days sale. For a limited time, you get totally free labor on all kitchens, bathrooms, windows, siding, roofing, doors, and decks. And you'll get free payment-free and interest-free financing and a free gift. They're in the giving mood, Cody and Casey at Minnesota Rusco. You can never have too much free. So go to minnesotarusco.com and find out how you can turn your remodel into a reality. While you're there, you can check out a bunch of customer reviews, a bunch of 5-star great experiences, people raving about the remodels that they have had done through Minnesota Rusco. And then also a reminder, we mentioned off the top of the show, but Brixworth is hosting the Purple Daily Draft Party pre-party just diagonally across the block, basically, from the Fillmore. Brixworth with their incredible dry rub wings, Detroit-style pizza, world-renowned craft beer. We'll have the pre-party there at 3:30 to about 5 o'clock next Thursday, April 24th. We're going to be giving away a chance to win tickets to the draft party. You can come hang out with us, meet us, get a custom pint glass when you mention the Purple Daily Draft Party, $4 Kill the Keg special as well. So check us out next Thursday, the pre-party, 3:30 to 5 o'clock at Brixworth. Okay. So Declan asked, who's the best option at this point? All these QB2 options, like taking Aaron Rodgers off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my hot Vikings take.
Okay.
JJ McCarthy, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins, Sam Howell, and or Aiden O'Connell. The Vikings would win 10 or more games with any of those 6 quarterbacks in 2025.
Hold on. I have to digest this before I have a facial reaction.
I think their infrastructure is so loaded. I think KOC is such a great quarterback whisperer, of air traffic controller in your headset while you're trying to fly a plane. Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins. I think they would win 10 or more games with any of those 6 guys playing 17 games at quarterback.
Go through the list again.
Sure.
Because I'm going to take this line by line. Like,
Okay.
I can't say that about all 6 of them.
JJ McCarthy,
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill,
I'm on board with that. Yeah, I think he can still. Yeah.
I mean, they won 14
Yep.
with Sam Darnold last year.
Yep.
Carson Wentz.
Boy, that one's, it's going to get worse from me. That one's borderline. That one's borderline. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they won 8 games. But anyway.
Okay. Kirk Cousins.
Well, yeah, he's
Yes.
proven. I mean, as long as he's back.
Mm-hmm.
If the Achilles is back, yes.
Aiden O'Connell.
I don't know about that one. Yeah. I'm not sure about that one. Now, I would say that could be, I think KO would put his seal of approval on O'Connell, I think. So that's a big starting point. That's a huge starting point.
Now, I will say this. In defense of Aiden O'Connell.
Yep. He's not
Over
garbage.
2 years with the Raiders, he has made 17 starts.
Yep.
With the Raiders.
Yep.
And like Josh, what's his name?
McDaniels.
McDaniels.
Back with the Patriots. OC with the Patriots again for the 19th
For the
time.
14th time, yeah.
19th.
And the Raiders were 7-10. The Raiders, the garbage infrastructure.
Yeah, that's why I'm not.
everyone Raiders.
I'm not closing the door on
7-10
that.
with them.
Yeah, I don't think he's garbage.
20 touchdowns, 11 picks.
Yep.
And then Sam Howell would maybe be the most controversial one here because he takes a bunch of sacks. But I think given like a full, if you made that trade in spring practice and gave him a full ramp up to just sit underneath the tutelage of Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I'm gonna say definitely no, because I think the problem with Sam is I think he's a YOLO quarterback, which means I think that he would panic and or not understand what the coach wants and make a stupid play. I mean, remember, you guys, because I do agree, and this entire show agrees, O'Connell is very, very good with that position. Nick Mullins once threw a pass while falling, while being sacked as sort of this little jump ball. And if you're, O'Connell didn't say, hey, dude, no matter what happens, don't take the sack. I think Howell would fall into the YOLO quarterback lifestyle that would submarine O'Connell's intention.
But doesn't the other thing you need, though, like the reason why Nick Mullins was on the roster for a couple of years is, yeah, he made mistakes and took sacks and short-circuited and stuff, and Dobbs too. But like Nick Mullins specifically, he wasn't afraid to throw the ball into tight windows and down the field.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe I've only watched a few Sam Howell games, but Sam Howell has a little of that, hey, I'm not afraid to make a third-level throw here and risk it. 21 interceptions.
Yeah, 21 touchdowns and 21 picks with the Commanders in 2023 really, really would scare me off. Yeah. I'd say you win about 7 or 8 games. Okay. I think he'd kill you. But I mean, that's a pretty good. So
we all kind of agree that like most of these guys, you would be a playoff team.
McCarthy, I feel really good about. If Kirk is healthy, I actually think yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tannehill, now he's been off for a year, but if he comes back as the guy who is similar to the Titans, yes. Wentz, I don't know. O'Connell, I don't know. I don't hate him. I can say this from the way that we're discussing this. I hate Sam Howell. I hate that man. And it's not personal, Sam, if you're watching this.
No. But there was a time, remember, like a year or two before he came out of North Carolina, and I'm also putting myself in the shoes of Kwesi. There was a time where he was regarded as maybe a top 5 draft pick prospect, and then he had a bad year at North Carolina, tumbles down to the 5th round. But Washington thought enough of him to just throw him in as a 17-game starter in 2023. Maybe it was part of their plan to tank for Jaden Daniels. I don't know.
Yeah. Can I bring up the most important point, though, that I think is also a big part of this story that we're not yet talking about? And that is this. If you don't think McCarthy can do it, or there's a concern that he gets hurt again, right? I think part of the very important thing is go back to 2023 when they had to run through Dobbs, who, by the way, Dobbs played his best game with O'Connell, with Dobbs not knowing the playbook, so O'Connell could literally just tell him what to do. That was his best game. But you guys recall ownership, I think it was Mark Wilf, basically came out and said, he was given the opportunity to say, hey, Kirk got hurt, man, too bad, right? And if you remember, Mark Wilf basically said, that's not an excuse in our world. Like I think there remains a very interesting discussion about the backup being somebody who, if something goes wrong, can win a lot of games.
Yep. And by the way, like as I sit here talking about Sam Howell and Aiden O'Connell, if you somehow wind up needing those guys for 15 games or something, something's gone terribly wrong.
Correct.
I'm thinking more in terms of, okay, these guys would be true QB2s. You really love McCarthy, and they're going to come into quarterback rehab school. If you're looking for someone that, all right, we're in on McCarthy, but we're just a little unsure. We're not quite Aaron Rodgers unsure.
Right.
I would, to full circle answer Declan's question, I would probably put Ryan Tannehill at the top of the list. I know he hasn't played in 2 years, but I'd put him at the top.
But just for classic Vikings random quarterback pop-up seasons from Jeff George, Randall Cunningham, Gus Frerotte, like guys that you thought had no business being in the NFL anymore, stepping in, and then they win multiple double-digit games with you. Like it fits the Vikings lineage very well.
Although you know what, in the case of Cunningham and George, those were proven commodities. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Cunningham sat out was it the 96 season that he sat out, 97 backup, 98, right? But in the case of Cunningham and George, that would be much more of a Tannehill type of thing.
It would. And Tannehill never had the peak of a Cunningham, but he's played at a pretty high level in the right situations, right? Like a run heavy play action kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, let us know in the YouTube comment section of those options that are kind of available right now for QB2. You got to pick someone. It can't. It's probably one of those 6-ish guys. Maybe there's another trade out there. So let us know who you would pick. All right, I think we have him here. He is the most passionate Vikings fan we know. A noted studier of the NFL draft, Randy in Cottage Grove. Randy Vikes 69 on Twitter. What's up, Randy?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty well, man. We're excited for the NFL draft. It's been a while since we've caught up with you. Once the season kind of ended in devastating fashion, I feel like we haven't really caught up. So how you been the last few months?
Well, onward and upward, as they say. Can't get too down in the dumps. And the great thing about football is it's no off season.
Amen.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That's awesome.
A few of us are thinking about going out to Green Bay, by the way.
Oh.
Okay.
You're not going to come to our party?
Draft.
Well, the Fillmore? People in the mocking community, a lot of them tend to gather at the draft, and I've never done that, and this is as close as it's going to get.
I mean, listen, are you going to rock the Zubas?
I mean, I got them going right now. I always got them going.
I don't know.
Like every day you're just wearing purple and gold Zubas Tuesday through
got two
Friday?
pair. I got two pair. I rotate. One's got needs to be darned in the crotch, but I rotate.
Sure.
I don't know that going to Green Bay is a great idea though, because you'll start to drink a lot. The Packer fans will get mad. I don't know, man.
They have what do they have to stand on right now? They overpaid for a bozo at quarterback. They overpaid like crazy for that guy.
Yeah, they are paying a lot of money for old Jordan Love.
He didn't seem to do a lot last year. They what's his name? Gutekunst doesn't really know what he's doing.
Yeah, no, it's hard to disagree. They can't beat the good teams in the NFC. Yeah, feasting on all the bad
excited.
teams.
I'm snug about this draft, and we don't have a lot of picks right now, but I think there's a possibility that we're going to end up with more than people think.
Okay, well, listen, we'll turn the floor over to you here because we know that you've correctly nailed several Vikings draft picks in the past. I mean, you nailed the Justin Jefferson pick. Wasn't there like a Janarius Robinson in the fourth round?
Yeah, Janarius, we never gave him a fair shake. He could have been a good pro.
Was it Mike Hughes? Did Randy
Mike Hughes?
I got Mike Hughes.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple other ones in there.
Unfortunately, so did the Vikings, Randy.
I should have gotten Brock Purdy, but they didn't listen to me.
That's true.
Yeah, you did have Brock Purdy going to the Vikings, and boy, that was quite the mistake. So, yeah, this is kind of an annual exercise here. Randy in Cottage Grove, your full Vikings mock draft. So who do you have the Vikings taking in these rounds?
All right. Hello, school. So here, first off, everybody knows. Everybody knows that Quezzy likes picks. He's what they call an analytics guy. Like he puts value on things more than a number. Just he puts a value. So he doesn't care if it's number 24 or second, third round pick. We're gonna go ahead and stock the cupboard, as they say. And so I see if you can follow along because this is going to get complicated. But people like Quezzy and me are able to keep up. So in the first round, we picked. We were scheduled to pick 24th. We're gonna go ahead and spin that pick, and we're gonna spin that pick and package it with Jordan Addison.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Jordan Addison is going out the door. We're not going to pay him. There's a lot of reasons why not. He's a hooligan. He's kind of a bad apple, and we're going to trade him and package him and the 24th pick. And here's where it starts to get kind of fun. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to get out of that first round, and we're going to go ahead and trade Jordan Addison. You watch to the New England Patriots. We're going to end up out of that deal now with number 38. Okay, so we've traded Addison in 24, and we now have 38. Okay, from the Patriots, and then we're going to go ahead and take 38 from the Patriots, and we're going to go ahead and spin that one around. Okay, so we spin 38 around.
That feels like a bad deal for the Vikings. You know, I mean,
So we got a 2026 first.
Oh, we did.
Did I not say that?
Oh, from the Patriots. Okay.
Yeah, we got a 20. We put 24 in Addison for a 26 first and 38, and then we're not done. They also are going to throw in 69. Okay, nice. So now we've taken 24 in Addison. It's nice to get that. So we've taken 24 in Addison, and we've gotten 38.
That's nice.
69. It is nice, and then the one in 2026.
Okay. Sports
You
Dad,
wouldn't do that?
what does the Sports Dad draft value chart look like here?
69.
His head's going to blow up. No, it sounds great. Keep going, Randy. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
So now I'm getting off my track. So now we have 38, 69, 97, 139, and 187.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds right. We're tracking.
And we got that 2020 pocket in our back pocket. Okay, so we had to send 139 over to New England in that earlier deal. So we actually did lose that one. So what we have is 38, 69, 97, 187, and a first in 2026. And we had to ship out 24, Addison, and 139 to get there. Okay, so now we're in the third round. Right, sorry, now we're in the second round.
This is all very clear to us. You're doing a great job explaining this.
We're in the second round now, and we've got 38, and there's a lot of good options going to be staring you in the face there at 38. But if he's there at 38, it'll be tempting, Quezzy. It will be tempting to go ahead and trade out and trade out again and get some more capital. But if he's there at 38, I see no way that we can't take Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. He's a stud. He's a safety. He's a ball hawk. You know, a lot of people have him going late first, early second. I say if he's there at 38, don't get cute. Don't try to trade back and hope he falls. You take Xavier Watts right up to that, to Tagliabue, and you tell him that's the pick.
Yeah. Right up to Tagliabue, dude. Yeah,
so it's going to be a problem.
Paul Tagliabue.
Pete Rozell's going to be standing right there.
So at 38, we walk out of there with Xavier Watts, a guy who you might have reached up for at 24. He's that good. He's going to be a stud in the league. And now we've obviously gotten rid of Addison. So at 69, we're hoping someone slides. We're hoping someone takes a little bit of a tumble down the board. And if he's there and we can take him, I like this kid Jack Beck from TCU. He's a wide receiver, and he is a big boy. He could be a WR2. He's got a little bit to learn as far as his routes. Doesn't really play well against press, but he's a playmaker, and he's got that mentality that you're after. So at 69, and if he slips and slides and gets down there to him, we'll take him at 69, Jack Beck from TCU.
That sounds like a guy that's like on your Sunray Lanes bowling league. Are you Jack Beck?
He's an actual player.
Jack Beck. Sounds like a good bowler. I don't know.
Jack
Black.
Beck.
Not
He's
Jack
a
Black.
horned. He's a horned frog, you guys. A horned frog.
Now, a lot of people like what we've done with the line, and I do too. A lot of us got snug over some of the moves we've made. I don't understand the Vegas number, by the way, how they have us at eight wins or whatnot. All we did is get better everywhere on the field. Everywhere on the field. I don't understand that. But I do have a sense that there's no such thing as too many bodies. Okay, and if this guy slides all the way down to 97, I'd take him and I'd be fine with him right there. And that's Tate Ratledge from Georgia,
Oh.
the guard. I love him. You know, he's not an athlete per se. But he's a big guy. He's got some solid technique, and he can get stronger in the league. Don't you worry about that. So if he's there at 97, Tate Ratledge, we're gonna go ahead and take Tate Ratledge there. Obviously, in this scenario, we traded out 139. That had to go in the deal, so we don't have that anymore. But at number 187 in round 6, this is a situation where I think a lot of people think, well, we're set at running back. We got the guy from San Francisco. We got AJ's back for another year. I don't think it would be the worst situation at running back if we had the opportunity to bring in a guy with JJ McCarthy. Might just have a little smile on his face seeing, okay? And that's Khalil Mullings. Khalil Mullings from Michigan. I don't know if he's going to slide that far, but I like the idea of putting him in the backfield, give a little bit of upside there, okay? If that's just one thing. But if that doesn't work, if he doesn't slide that far, for sure you're going to get a crack at this kid, and that's another Michigan kid, Donovan Edwards. Edwards. So look for one of those Michigan backs. Maybe it's Edwards if Mullings goes first to be the pick there. At the end of the whole situation at 187. And I don't think it's Kwesi's going to be done. I think we're going to emerge with 8, maybe 9, maybe 10 picks. Wow. But as it stands today, I like what I did here. I moved 24 and 139 in Jordan Addison, and I got 38, 69, which is nice to get. And then I also got still have 97 and 187, and we leave with a safety, a wide receiver, another big body in the interior of that line, and a running back. If that's all we do, I'm snug, and we can go ahead and go. And this isn't my final, but it's pretty damn close. And I'm snug, and I'm ready to go. Skull.
Wow, dude. Wow, there he is. And he's gone.
Sounding as good as I've ever heard him sound. I wonder if he quit drinking.
I doubt that.
I do too, but did you hear how fresh he sounded?
Well, yeah, he probably went on a darkness retreat for 3 months after the Vikings lost in the playoffs.
We haven't heard from him for months.
So, okay. So we're tracking this. I mean, listen, you all laugh, but this dude has nailed Vikings
you get all the
draft
trades?
picks. I did. I got all the trades written down here. I don't know about the value on that trade. I feel like we're giving up quite a bit there. But
you're getting a 2026 first-round pick. He's not wrong about that.
I do have another mock before the show's over here real quick to get to. But the World Juniors are coming to town. If you like sporting events, this is the Sports Dad's favorite sporting event, potentially, coming to town.
Oh, amen. Yeah, the World Junior Hockey Championships it's a tournament that I watch every year, and I consider it to be the best or one of the best tournaments in all of sports, and it's coming to town for 10 days starting December 26th at the X. As I said, this is a who's who, I've been saying, this is a who's who of future pros, of high draft picks, of guys who are going to be first-round picks. It runs December 26th through January the 5th, but lock in for your tickets now. Group play packages on sale now. Go to worldjuniorsmn26.com. That's worldjuniorsmn26.com. 16-game packages for Group A or Group B, prelim games as well as quarterfinals, semifinals, bronze, and the gold medal games as well. And, by the way, today they are going to name the U.S. coach. So although it's still a ways away, we are getting closer and closer to the roster being worked on for the World Junior Hockey Championships coming to town the day after Christmas of this year.
Shout out to Federated Insurance, too, helping to keep this a 365-day-a-year show here, Purple Daily. Federated Insurance believes that their value is measured by the success of you, the business owner, their client, their partner. And they offer a number of different tools, marketers, underwriters, risk management personnel, claims professionals that are all under one roof, federated, to help you grow your business through risk management strategy. So if you feel like you're in the market for just a better insurance partner as a business owner, you'd be best served to check out federatedinsurance.com to find out about the 120-year history of this great company. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours.
I want a mock.
Okay, I think NFL.com, it's like a parody at this point. So, you got your Daniel Jeremiahs, you got your like Charles Davis, and your Zierleins, the main mockers,
Reuters, right?
Yep, Chad Reuter. There's now a tab, like Bucky Brooks. There's a tab where they just have all these. I think they're just making up new names of mockers on their website.
Yeah, whatever works for them.
So this one that just came out this morning is from Mike Band, and he represents Next Gen Stats and Research.
Mikey.
So he's looking at this through like a probability standpoint. For instance, he's got Cam Ward as the number 1 pick, and the probabilities of the first position drafted by the Titans, 93% quarterback, 5% defensive line, 2% cornerback. And he's using like the probabilities of what do they need, who's available, etc. That's how he's doing this. So he's got Cam Ward number 1, Travis Hunter number 2 to the Browns, Abdul Carter number 3 to the Giants. He has Ashton Jeanty 6 to the Raiders, Shedeur Sanders tumbling to the Saints at number 9.
Okay.
And then with the 24th pick, according to Mike Band, NFL.com, he has the Vikings trading back with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Can't argue with Mike Band.
Trading up. We did this scenario last week, too. Kelvin Banks, the offensive lineman from Texas.
Oh, okay.
Does he have the actual? He doesn't have the actual trade compensation. But he does have the Vikings back on the clock at 31, where he has, from Kentucky, cornerback Maxwell Hairston.
I want a mock.
It's a new name.
I was going to say, that's one I have not heard mocked to the Vikings.
The analytically minded Kwesi Adofo-Mensah trades down to recoup capital for a front office that currently holds a league-low 4 picks. Hairston turned heads at the combine with a 4.28 40-yard dash, reaching a top speed of 24.25 miles per hour. Wow. Both the best marks of any prospect in this year's class. So they would just be getting this crazy athlete to play outside cornerback and to fit Brian Flores' aggressive, man-heavy scheme.
Oh, God. Bring it. Bring it, Mike Band.
That's right. Mike Band coming in hot here. The Band Man. The Jam Band.
Who might not exist.
Just a made-up name on NFL.com.
It's Chad. He's like, I cannot keep doing all of these mocks with my name attached. Let's have some fun. I'll be Mike Band.
Just make up a new name here. So, all right. Well, you've heard from 2 draft experts here, Randy in Cottage Grove and Mike Band from NFL.com. I don't know what more
and remember,
analysis
fans,
you could ask for.
He also traded Jordan, so don't just be mad at the sports dad, because Randy from Cottage Grove traded a guy who you all said they're never going to trade, and Randy has been right more than me.
Yeah, no, he has. He's been nailing some of these
on
picks.
Draft stuff, for sure.
So Purple Daily NFL takes will also be in your Purple Daily feeds, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify later on today. A scoop session with Doogie. We'll see what that brings as well. And if you're mad at the Twins, check out the Score North Twin Show later on today, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before the Twins are contracted.